Hello everyone, this is Remlace from 40k Theories, and time for a little rant. Or rant if you prefer, because I know some people don't like me saying rant, but anyway. So many people are debating on just how canon the Chaos God Malal actually is, so today we'll take a look at this issue. Now while the rights to Malal's name are held by his original creators John Wagner and Alan Grant, who were freelancers who briefly worked for Games Workshop during the late 1980s, the concept of Malal was still utilised by Games Workshop, with the introduction of the minor chaos deity, Malice. In addition to this, there are many other references to Malal and his modus operandi of being the chaos god whose sole purpose is to cause conflict with the other chaos gods, such as the Sons of Malice Chaos Warband, who also share his colour scheme of black and white, a demonic axe which is described as hungering for demonic energy, which in itself is a reference to Dread Axe, the weapon wielded by Caleb Dark, the champion of Malal, and his sacred number being 11, the same as Malal. Now while Malice himself has rarely been mentioned since 3rd edition, it's important to point out that technically Malice was never retconned, and it's also worth noting that declaring something as non-canon by exclusion is, quite frankly, a poor argument, as that would mean that every character and every event within Warhammer or Warhammer 40,000 would need to be mentioned every single edition for them to remain canon. Now some people may state that because Malal and Malice have different names, they must also be different characters. Now while it does seem like a plausible argument at first, this is not without its problems. Games Workshop has changed the names of certain characters within the past, but kept their core essence intact as being the same character despite this name change. A well-known example of this comes from Warhammer Fantasy. During 5th edition, when the Lizardmen were introduced as a new playable race, part of their background details the Prophet of Sotek and leader of the Red-Crested Skinks, known then as Teeny Weeny. Yes, I'm serious. But from 6th edition onwards, he was known as Tayan Huane, and yet despite this name change they are still the same character with the same backstory and events attributed to them. Now the biggest problems concerning Malice would be official publications and stories detailing him. The best known story detailing Malice comes from the story Labyrinth within the Heroes of the Space Marines anthology, originally published in 2009, when the current edition of 40k was 5th edition, and at the time of this recording we are approaching 8th. Now, in this story is a particular passage at the end of the story. He could only be summoned by sacrifice. Only by giving unto him their best and most praiseworthy warriors could he walk among them. And here he stood, gazing with eyes of fire, the renegade god, the outcast, the lost, the hierarch of anarchy and terror, Malice. Now some people would claim that because the story is several editions old now, that would simply no longer be canon. But the problem with this argument is that the anthology was recently republished in hardcover form in 2017. In fact, at the time of this recording it was re-released only a few weeks ago. And there has been no claim from Games Workshop or Black Library or anybody else stating that the events are no longer canon. Generally when older books have been republished by Games Workshop or Black Library, they are usually accompanied by disclaimers stating that their canonicity is no longer valid, or they simply rewrite portions of the story to fit the book into the current canon. Examples of this include the Inquisition War trilogy, where the character of Grimm, who was a squat, had been rewritten when the book was republished into a tech priest named Grill. Another example would come from when Black Library republished the 1993 novel Space Marine, with the following disclaimer. Although the temptation was great to rewrite significant portions of this book to make it conform to the current background, as a curiosity piece, a historical snapshot of the Warhammer 40,000 universe circa the early 1990s, this book is invaluable. It also serves as a shining example of what can happen when a respected genre author, at the height of his powers, is let loose on an established shared universe. Just don't try and fit it into the modern Warhammer 40,000 timeline. Heroes of the Space Marines had no such disclaimer to accompany its hardback release, and as such, unless stated otherwise by Games Workshop and Black Library, Malice, Malal, whatever name you personally wish to give him, does indeed live. Maybe no longer as a major power, but he is canon nonetheless. Thanks for watching.